Prabhupada said, you can grow food, but don't grow food for the cows.
Yes, I hinted at that.
Okay, I'm trying to understand that.
Okay, so let me give you the pithy few words description. So this is after many times, and one of the things I love the most about being with Srila Prabhupada, where I wasn't scared to death, and he was just, just rambling on, and that very much I related to my father, was that Srila Prabhupada would put in a few words something that I could unpack for the rest of eternity. So Prabhupada mentioned a few things, and he was underneath the tree there in the Hyderabad farm, and I would go and meet him many times, and just sit there, and then he would talk. So he was just talking about two things on that day, and he was sitting there, and he says we are going to demonstrate here, and I'm not sitting in a way you could see, but he patted his lap, how to live in the lap of material nature and depend upon Krishna. So that was his, if you want to know the crux of the motto of the farmers movement, which is Srila Prabhupada's, say last evolution of the way he talked about the farms. He called it the farmers movement. To me, I don't know who, actually he was going to do this himself. He started in Gujarat. So the farmers movement, getting the farmers to farm, right? Doesn't take much brain, right? There are people who are already good at farming. So we should work with them so that their farming doesn't catapult them out of the villages, but enables them and others who depend upon them to stay put, right? So like in one of the businesses I became fairly expert at was, property development. And the rule was, if say a factory was going to be built in an area, and I'll come back to the other instruction of Srila Prabhupada in a minute. So if a factory was going to be built in an area, then we knew that all the property values would go up, because for every factory worker, there would be something like 4.3 other kinds of workers. I don't know where that 0.3 worker looks like, some portion, who would be in that area, providing ancillary services, and services and all types of other commodities, So that was growth. So it was natural that there would be more people. So going back to the second instruction that Srila Prabhupada gave me. So if you have people who are farming and they can stay there, then other people can stay there, right? But if the business changes and it's an off-site model, then they move off-site, right? Simple, right? Village, self-production, self-consumption, stay. Move the production away, leave, right? It's fairly simple. And the other thing that he was talking about, which relates to what you were saying, is that he says the beauty is the cow eats what we do not. It was kind of out of the blue in a sense. I mean, he wasn't talking anything else about the cows. The beauty is the cows eat what we do not. So this clicked in 1,000 ways, and I didn't know about the New Talavan project at that time. But if you look at the where I happen to be, Nityananda, who founded this place, and no disrespect to him, but he's not exactly, he's more like a city slicker who tried to establish, buy land and show off how many acres they bought. And if someone had asked me should you buy these land, I would say probably not. It would be at about a 2%, like, okay, I wouldn't buy this land, don't even give me this land for free. I wouldn't have taken this land for free. That's the best way to put it. So Prabhupada was walking about, and Nityananda was saying, just see, Srila Prabhupada, we're growing this for the cows, and just see, we're growing this for the cow. And Srila Prabhupada said, and what are you growing for the humans? So when I heard that, and I mean, it wasn't the first time, but when I heard that and I put it together, like other things with what Srila Prabhupada said, the beauty is the cow eats what we do not. And previous to that and after that, and in his books, he would talk about, and I saw that myself living in a very, simple, original village situation in 1966, in which I observed so many things. So you produce sugarcane. And when you produce sugarcane, besides those classical tops that Srila Prabhupada had his great fascination about how much the cows liked it, he something about that. But the rest of the sugarcane, the bagas, that besides that can be used in the soil by burning it, that bagas, the cows will chew it, and they have such a stomach because they have 4 stomachs, and they have these fantastic, the bagas. And then if you grow heritage wheat, for instance, not hybrid wheat, or there's special kinds of wheat, but if you heritage wheat or heritage rice, those stalks, although they're not the best thing in the world, they have nutrition, right? And if you grow oil seeds, so then you crush the oil and you get oil cake. And so Prabhupada at different times would relate to that, and he'd make comments. Different times I was around him, and I'd notice in his books, he wasn't like making a whole documentary about it, but he'd mention, and I had noticed that in the village. We just kind of gather up different things, like when you're taking the rice. So after 1 year of storage, rice is husked in India. They don't husk fresh rice. So after a year, then you have that bran, especially when it's hand pounded. So it's only the bran, the very top. So you give that to the cows, along with, the oil cake and the different things that are waste products, right? You have vegetables and you're not going to eat the skin. Guess who really likes and can digest those skins? Unless they start to feed them grains. Like we have cows here in New Taliban. You bring them a piece of broccoli, they don't want to eat it. These cows won't eat good things, You bring them a carrot, they want to eat it. I mean, anywhere else in the world, if you take an apple, apples are not good for cows. I don't know if most of you know it. Apples, the Amish told us, not me, but Kesha Bharati's good wife, who left us, a fantastic Mataji. So she gave me a crash course. Very nice. She took me under her wing and Gitanagari, and she, trained me how to do things with cows, how to not be afraid, and So if you take an apple, that cow will dry. She said, but Amish, they don't let too much because it will dry up the milk of the cows. Apples, not so good, a little here and there, They go, you ever show an apple to a cow? Man, you can make that cow walk 50 miles for that. Just keep playing. It's like the classical carrot for, the donkey or horse, Apples love it. Their eyes will go in circles and their tongue. You know how cows, when they like it. So the cows we produce for humans, we can have grazing lands and everything else, but if you're in a situation where you're down, the byproducts are ample. Look at corn. When you grow an acre of corn, you know how much byproduct there is? There's what 12,000 pounds of byproduct in an acre of corn. They love the cane, the stalk. And then the husk, you give them the husk, and that they can eat it all. They love it, Chop it up for them, mix in a little molasses, and mix in a little bran, little oil cake. So no extra endeavor. So I guided the Hungarian Yatra for their farm in terms of the practical aspects of the farm. I visited some 13 times. I stayed. Beginning, it was like a few days, then it was like 2 weeks to 2 months. Most of the time, 3 to 6 weeks. And, I'd be with all of the devotees all day, and the farmers. I would meet them twice a day and I'd give them classes. And, I was a little reluctant to lay things out specifically because that's not the kind of teacher or administrator I am. So I like to give an idea and a person understands it and then applies it. So I told them this story about Srila Prabhupada and that cows we should not feel that cows are a burden. You know, the Sanskrit statement is gavyam dhanavam. So dhana means wealth, dhanavam, that which gives wealth, and gavyam, by keeping the cows. You know, we can say cow protection, but by having the cows, they will give us prosperity. So I explained to them Srila Prabhupada's principle. You know, and they asked me questions, and you know, I gave them some little hints about different things, you know, little bit, you know, but they're all quite intelligent and hardworking. So I think it was by the third or fourth visit that the head of the agriculture and the head of cows, they were, you know, we were going together. And they said, Tejas Prabhu, you would be very proud of us. And I said, really? I'm always proud of you. And they said, now our cows and bulls pull their own weight. Means that if you're keeping the cows, if you're keeping the bulls, your experience will be that we're not going to exploit them, but at the same time, they will give us much more than we're giving them, and they will not be an economic burden. And I also told them about one story, which is my own allegory. You know, if I'm in a seminar and I'll ask, you know, who's a grihasta, and how many children do you have? And so, you know, most grihastas only have 2 or 3. I said, so now I want you to imagine being a grihasta and having 10 wives. Sorry, Mataji. This is just a metaphor. And by each wife, you have 10 children. 10 poor ladies, they have 10 children. So now you have what? 10 wives, 10 children. So how many children you have? You have so many children. You have 100 children, right? And these children, they adore you. And they all get married. The boys, the girls, all of them get married. And they love you so much, they don't leave. And they stay there near grandpapa. They have children. They each get married to 10. And they have 10 children. So all of a sudden you have how many? 10,000, 100,000. And they all looking to grandpapa, grand. Oh, please take care of us. No way. No way. So if one is hesitant to have one wife and understands, because of understanding the responsibility, if one is married, from the man's point of view, not in any, you know, chauvinistic or derogatory way, but a man should feel the responsibility in every way to take care of his wife. You know, not, you know, it can work out differently to different social patterns, but he should be responsible. The wife should also be responsible. When we're talking about the man's point of view, who's making the decisions on his own, you know, and how he cooperates with his wife is a different thing, how they make decisions jointly. So you're getting a cow, and then you're thinking, well, you know, I'll just go on making milk by having more babies. Whoa. I mean, having one cow, one should understand the repercussions and the long-term downstream responsibility. If you're not ready to have 10 cows, then don't get one cow, because, you know, when you're ready to have 10 cows, then get one cow. Follow? Because mostly to get milk, unless, you know, cows can go on milking for 3 years. In Hungary, we had cows that spontaneously gave milk. Yep.
Wow, that's in Krishna Book it talks about that.
Yeah,
and seeing Krishna.
I've had a number of friends. There's one devotee, I forget his name. He was in Gitanagari, and he had gone to India, you know, and I had met him in India, and then he and his wife invited me to come to Gitanagari. They met me in New Vrindavan and took me to Gitanagari, and then we were there, and he had been gone a long way, and someone had been keeping his cow. And then, you know, so they brought the cow back, and this is the first time the cow is seeing this man, you know. And, you know, they had such a great relationship. That cow was like a puppy dog. It was a big cow, you know, and it was dancing back and forth, running to him. But it wasn't just running, it was jumping here, jumping there. You know, it's like, and this guy, I'm looking at it, what's going on? And then so you should come up. And so that cow, a few days later, she gave that milk, you know, the first milk when a cow gave birth, but she wasn't pregnant. just out of intense love for her master, she gave milk.